Good morning and welcome. We begin today with a prayer from day 19 of Uniting in Prayer, which is the national commitment of people across Australia to pray for the life of our uniting church. Wind of God, dancing over the desert of our reluctance, lead us to the oasis of celebration. This land is God's land and God's Spirit dwells here. We acknowledge the Djarowa and Guyabal people, traditional custodians of this land under God, and we join with all the people of the Uniting Church in Australia to live into the reconciliation that Christ calls us to. Let's stand and ask for the gift of God's Spirit to be poured out upon us as we gather this morning. Well, welcome this morning to this time of gathering and prayer. Middleridge has been privileged this weekend to host the gathering of the Regional Presbytery, which is the Presbytery of the Downs. And so we extend to all the Presbytery participants who are here with us today a very warm welcome. And it's a special welcome today to Rob Callow, who is here, and with Grace. Yes, I thought, yeah. So it's lovely to have you here today, Rob. And Rob is acting as the Assistant Presbytery Minister at the moment, and he led quite a bit of our gathering time yesterday, which was very special. And we want to say a very warm welcome to those who are joining us online. And Opataya, if you're watching this morning, we're thinking of you, and I hope that I can drop one of our activities around to your house this week. Well, during this period after Pentecost, we continue to journey with the early church as they figure out what it means to be this community that has been gifted with the Holy Spirit. They are being shaped by the Spirit, they are being empowered by the Spirit. And the same is true for us in this time and place. We too are people gifted and empowered by the Spirit, and we too ask questions about what that means for our life as a community of faith. Over the last few weeks, we've considered the way in which the early church struggled to understand how God as creator, who they experienced again in Jesus Christ and in this generous Spirit, could all be interrelated. And that was Trinity Sunday, which I think every minister dreads slightly. Then, last week, we looked at what it means to be a community of grace. And today, we focus on what that means for how we relate to the world and how we respond to the world around us. So as we begin that contemplation today, let us enter into a time of quiet thought and prayer. Loving God, you call us together as community. And you ask us to be truly present with you in this moment. Still our minds, we pray. Holy One, you call us together as community. A community that exists not to satisfy our own needs, but to serve the needs of those around us in the name of Jesus Christ. Open our hearts to the world, we pray. God of all life, you call us together as community from all across the Downs. Show us how to be your people and empower us through your Spirit to live your good news. We pray. going to invite you to stand again and sing an inspiring song that we were reminded of by John Case, probably about 2 years ago, and I hadn't sung it for years, and then it's come alive again for me, and it tells us who we are, companions on this journey of faith. Let's stand and sing. And now I'm going to invite you to do something that we haven't been able to do for ages and we might still like to do carefully. I'm going to invite us to greet those around us as companions on the journey. And if you prefer, it's still okay to use the elbow bump, or you might like to go like this, or if you're feeling okay about shaking hands, that's fine as well. But let's greet each other as companions in Christ.
can sit down now. I'll just wait for the people to settle. Get amongst it, I've been told. Okay, so we're going to have a story about what Jesus and his friends were up to. So they were doing so much travelling. They were travelling all around the place. And they went from town to town. They were telling people about God's love. And I'm going to really get amongst it. I'm going to come down here where Abby is and tell you about Jesus and how him and his friends, they were going all around all the different towns telling people about God's love. Wow. And sometimes they met people who were very sick. Have you ever been very sick? Have you been sick? I'm making you comfortable, aren't I? And where's Patrick? I'll come over here near Patrick. I'm going to say, and sometimes Jesus' friends, they talk to people who are feeling sad. Oh, have you ever been really sad? Oh. Well, sometimes they were worried. And I know we've got a new little friend over here called William. So I'm going to come over here and say g'day to William, because sometimes Jesus and his friends, they met people who were lonely, and sometimes they met people who were afraid. Oh, wow. So Jesus worked very hard, loving and caring for everyone. So all those people, the ones that were sick, the ones that were sad, the ones that were worried, the ones that were lonely, and the ones that were afraid. And I apologise to the cameraman because I didn't tell him I was going to run all over the place. Sorry. But there was so much to do. And so many people who needed help. So Jesus talked to his friends and he said, so many people need our help. Here's what I would like you to do. And then Jesus called his friends by name. And he said, okay, he started with John. He said, John, I want you to go to the next town and I want you to teach people about God's love. Then he said, Peter and Andrew, I want you to go along the road until you get to another town and please help the people there who are sick and show God's love to them. Sarah and Mary, please go to the people who live by the river and tell them God loves them. Share the good news with those ones. Whoops, and I'm going to trip over the rocks. And that's what they all did. Some of Jesus' friends went to heal the sick. Some of Jesus' friends went to heal the people who were sad and lonely. And some of Jesus' friends went to be with people who were worried or afraid. And I missed the bit I was supposed to read. Let me read this bit up here. Because Jesus called out the names of all his friends, not just John, not just Peter and Andrew, not just Sarah and Mary. Jesus also called out the name of Judith. Judith, go and show God's love. And Sharon, you go and show God's love. And Abby, you go and show God's love. And William, you go and show God's love. And Sophie, you go and show God's love. And Alistair, you go and show God's love. And Patrick, you go and show God's love. And Caitlin, you go and show God's love. And Anna, can you go and show God's love? Yes. I said Sophie. Jesus had many, many friends who wanted to help, and I could keep going, but I think Kate's got a message for us later on. She doesn't want me to take over. And Jesus calls us to do that too.
And we've got an activity if people are interested in doing it at the activity table, because sometimes we've got to stop and think a little bit about how will I show God's love. And what we've got is a beautiful little reminder pocket. I think this is made by Anna and Sarah, yeah. And it's got a little bit of magnetic tape on the back so you can stick it on the fridge. You decorate the front, but inside it's got paddle pop sticks upon which you can write a way that you can show God's love this week. And were these like your ideas, Anna, that you wrote on the paddle pop? Okay, they're good ideas. Anna's written, be nice. Oh, she's got share. I wonder what else she's going to do this week. Oh, she's going to help someone. But you know what? Everybody's paddle pop sticks will be a little bit different because our lives are a bit different and we've got different people in our lives. But what I'm going to invite you to do, if you'd like to make one of these, come over to the craft table and we've got them all set up with the instructions. Now, as well as the instructions being there for the kids, we've also got the instructions in our newsletter this week. So if you've got young people in your lives during the school holidays, the instructions are there where you might like to make them with your people. I've got my 2 grandsons coming for a week during the school holidays, and we're going to definitely be making some of these. All right, so while I get this sorted at the craft table, Linda's going to keep on telling stories.
I'm going to do this one from up here so I don't trip over the rocks and I don't mess Doug up. So this one is based on the reading of Matthew chapter 9 verses 35 to chapter 10 verses 8. And it starts off saying it'll take a bit of effort to picture the scene, to picture what it was like, because it happened a long time ago. And it's hard for us to imagine what things were like back then. They were very different to now. There were no mobile phones, there were no cars. But it might have been a little bit like a music festival or a sports final, a community event at which everyone from the town or suburb was gathered together. And there was a buzz in the air. Everyone had come out to see Jesus. He had been travelling throughout the territory and he'd been to many towns. He'd healed many people and he told everyone of God's love for them. And as you might imagine, he'd attracted a lot of attention and been in the centre of many crowds. And we don't know why this crowd is different from the others, but it was. There was just something different about it. Something about the people gathered in this place really tugged at Jesus' heartstrings. He felt how lonely and sad they were. Somehow he knew they had lost their bearings and was struggling to find a way out of distress and into the joy of life. His immediate desire was to do something to lighten the load they were enduring, for Jesus was someone full of compassion. There are not many people who understand the love of God as well as you do, he told the disciples. You have been travelling with me and have seen how people's lives can be transformed when God enters their hearts. I can't be everywhere, said Jesus. I can't meet with everyone, so I want you to be part of what I am doing. I want you to travel to the places where I can't get to and tell the people you meet about God and God's great desire to release people from their suffering and bring them into a life of love and joy. The more who do this, the more God's love will spread throughout the world. Now, not everyone will welcome you and receive your message. For some, It will mean they need to change in ways they are unwilling to. Offer to teach them, but don't linger about trying to convince them, for there are others that need you. So the disciples went and did as Jesus asked them. This was the beginning of something extraordinary. More than 2,000 years on from this story, we know about Jesus because followers of Jesus have travelled from away from their places into regions of the world to tell all those who are feeling lost and lonely and sad, and tell them of the friendship of the compassionate love of God. So in this reading, may we hear God's word to us. Thanks be to God. And we're going to sing. We're going to sing the summons. I love this song. I just think it just calls to the heart. So let's stand if you're able and sing the summons.
Please be seated. There's a Latin word that I've become very fond of, and it's the word communitas. It's like community, but instead of the Y on the end, it's got an AS on the end. Communitas. And I believe that the meaning of it is a community which exists for the good of the other. Communitas. Community which exists not for its own sake, but for the sake of the other. That's essentially what Jesus was asking his disciples to embrace. He was modelling for them and teaching them how to be a community of people of faith who existed not to have their own needs met, but to serve the needs of those around them in the name of Christ. and to communicate the love of God. Now, over the last few years, an important part of the life of Middleridge has been our markets for mission. And twice a year, an enormous amount of work goes into a Saturday market. And the purpose of the market is to raise funds for needs beyond this congregation. And it's been interesting because as we have gone through COVID and find ourselves a different church on the other side of COVID, it would be very easy to direct our fundraising efforts to ourselves because cash flow ain't what it used to be. However, we have been blessed by the leadership of Miller Ellison, who has helped us keep our eyes focused on people beyond this congregation. And the Markets for Mission have raised money that has been sent to Korakai Uniting Church near Lismore, as it's done amazing community recovery work, primarily with Indigenous people in the area around Korakai who have been left homeless after those huge floods. We've also raised money for the new Bottle Tree Remote Area Ministry. We've raised money for Blaze Aid and other causes. And the thing about Miller's leadership is that he leads us through faith. And each meeting begins with a devotion that helps us to focus beyond ourselves. And today, as we examine what it is to be a community that responds to the world through God's love, I've invited Miller to come and talk to us and tell us about the role of mission in his life and how he has really, even though it might embarrass you if I say it, Miller, become a mission champion in the life of this congregation. So welcome.
Well, good morning, everyone. My mission this morning is to share with you a testimonial. While this is written probably singular, there'd be no mission without Nola. It's Nola and Miller. Actually, on Wednesday gone, the 14th of June, Nola and Miller were married in 1969. And it was a good brownie point day for Miller, I remembered. Anyway, reaching out to mission. My first experience of raising money to help a call for funds happened when the Camden Methodist Church decided to employ a youth worker. The motivation was that Noel and I were keen to support our emerging family grow and learn with an active orientation of church family life. A rural town in the mid-70s was alive with farmer intuition. A group of us came up with the idea that all the old stuff lying around our farms could be collected, and we had someone among us who fancied himself as an auctioneer. Together with the tried and safe Sunday school picnic bits and pieces, stalls, and the rows of auction goods, we decided to name the event a country fair. As fundraisers go, it was beyond our wildest imaginings, over $5,000. Yes, we did employ a layperson, youth worker, at the start of his 14 years career in youth leadership. Taught at the School of Hard Knocks, Dr. Bernardo's, Reverend Gordon Bradbury was ordained in 1985 at Wollongong and is currently Lord Mayor of Wollongong and a non-active minister in the Uniting Church. Early 2009, Noel and I were emerging visitors to Middle Ridge Uniting Church First Service. During a service, an elderly lady was forthwith about raising funds for a Uniting World project for women in the Pacific Islands. Gaining graduation through years of work experience, I felt knowledgeable enough to hear a call for help in a leadership role. The late Betty Willis, OAM, even at her elderly age then, was quick to ambush. Betty was chair of the Combined Mission Committee at Middle Ridge and St. Stephen's Uniting Churches. Unable to do it herself, I became Betty's willing heavy lifter and contented to be mentored in hindsight. I reflect and see that I was probably groomed to carry on her mission of outreach aspirations. I recall and see that I recall the occasion of being introduced to the moderators of Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands as Miller, the chairman of my committee. After 27 years, Betty was a tyrant to her cause, which is described in her book, Another Turn in the Road. My inspiration is realised when I see a photo of a new water closet in remote Papua New Guinea. Here, a young Fijian woman who has realised her dream of lay preacher accreditation. Or ride with Graham Slaughter on one of his Leichhardt Patrol Bush chaplaincy services. The last inclusion being a call I have made from seeing a need relative to our farm-sitting adventures. My job fulfilment is the response from working with the team and the reaction we get for our calls for help. Leadership is never about pleasing all of the people all of the time. It is sharing ideas, listening to others, and learning to do better next time. Leaders will always hear discerning voices, but that comes with the job and has to be digested. Taking care of the small things is what I do best, and it's true. Small things can grow into bigger things. We can change what happens tomorrow. Yesterday is a reference point to do it better. Our next challenge is to reduce the labour input of setting up for market events. Already in planning is a book clearing sale in July and the Christmas craft markets in November. The gracious gift of Neville's Place Cafe to our congregation is another opportunity to explore and create new ideas as we go. And I've closed it with a verse from Romans 12:11. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervour serving the Lord. Just do it. When you come to do it again, you've got the knowledge to do it better, and so on and so on. Thank you for hearing me.
And this weekend we've been really fortunate at Presbytery to hear some stories of where the mission lands. Miller is part of our special relationship with the Bottle Tree Remote Area Ministry, which is a ministry in which Donna and Les participate. And we were very moved yesterday to hear a story from Donna of a baptism in the bush. And I asked her, would she tell it again for the rest of us? And she was worried that those who were in Presbytery meeting yesterday might be a bit worried about hearing the story again, but I reassured her it's one that's worth repeating. So Donna, we would love to hear your story of how mission lands on that dusty ground. And it's a privilege for the congregation of Middle Ridge to be in a special relationship with the Bottle Tree Remote Area Ministry, and thank you so much. We have a time of offering now, and it's a time where we dedicate the offering that many of us make by direct debit or online. It's also a time where there's opportunity to make a physical offering if that is the way you contribute to help this community of faith be in mission, in God's mission in the world. During the time of offering, we're going to stand together and sing the beautiful, beautiful psalm, "The Lord is my shepherd." Let's stand and sing and make our offering. And we share together in the dedication of our offering through prayer. Let's say these words. O God, you call us to be a people of hope, who offer your hope to those around us. We offer our gifts this day, and as we hold them before you, we ask that you take them from our hands and make them into something greater than we could ever make ourselves. May they be a vehicle of hope and grace to those you call us to serve in your name. In Christ and in spirit we pray. Amen. Please be seated. I'm just going to invite you to take a moment, particularly if you're a participant of Middle Ridge, to have a look at the newsletter you would have received on the way in. And you'll notice that in there are the instructions for a holiday activity with children or grandchildren if you would like to do it. Also wanting to highlight the fact that we are in a prayer relationship with Kogarah Uniting Church and the Fiji Parish as part of the National Assembly, national time of prayer for the way forward in the second act of the Uniting Church's life. There's a mention there of the Term 3 study, Falling Upward, and the books are available, and I gather people have started to pick up their copies from Margaret. So please do that, and the study guides will be published soon. Our second offering, which we do each month for a cause beyond the life of the congregation, throughout June, is going towards helping to equip a GP consultation room for Blue Care, with whom we share the site. They've managed to track down a GP who will come in and run a clinic at Blue Care. I think it's a couple of days a week. Is it, Sharon? Or that was the hope? Yeah. It's 1 day a week at this stage, but the room needs to be set up. The main thing is with a consultation bed that can be lowered and raised because of the frailty of some of the people who'll be coming to see the GP. Hopping up onto a high consultation bed is not an option. So they're doing fundraising at Blue Care for it, and we're joining in during June. So there's the directions there if you want to make a donation by direct debit, or there's also the wooden bowl at the door if you want to make a physical donation towards that. Is there anything else that needs to be particularly mentioned? We're going... Oh, sorry, I can't hear you. Oh, yes, thank you. And Lorna Skilton, who's been a beloved part of this congregation for many years. Her funeral will be here at Middle Ridge at 10 o'clock on Tuesday. And I know there's going to be a great gathering of the clan to honour Lorna and all that she has meant to the life of the Uniting Church, to the life of hospital chaplaincy throughout Queensland, and what she means in the personal lives of so many people in this congregation. So thank you for reminding me, Nola. Yes. Let us go now into a time of prayer.
Please share with me with the responses on the screen. Let us pray. We listen for you, O God. Show us how to respond with your love. Gathered together as the people of God, we listen that we may respond with grace to our world. We listen for the places of brokenness and those places where conflict overwhelms. We listen for the people sick with despair and disease. We listen for you, O God. Show us how to respond with your love. Gathered together as the people of God, we pray for inspiration. We pray for our leaders and change makers who remind us of our gospel call. We pray for our beautiful blue planet, which encourages us to be steadfast and faithful. We pray for each other to have courage, that our lives may proclaim the good news of God's love. We listen for you, O God. Show us how to respond with your love. gathered together as God's people, we pray for compassion. We pray for the tender-hearted who give until nothing is left. We pray for the alienated and excluded who need our solidarity more than our charity. We pray for anyone and everyone who feels like a sheep without a shepherd. We listen for you, O God. Show us how to respond with your love. And we pray together the Lord's Prayer. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Save us from the time of trial and deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen. We're going to sing again, and I'd just like to note this is one of my favourites, and a few years back there was discussion about copyright and which songs we could use, and we were considering not paying for the copyright to have this song, and I said no, we're going to pay and we're going to have this song because I think it's just a really significant way of us to offer ourselves to God. So stand if you are able and let's sing.
Sing, my head will swing.
And before I pronounce the blessing, I just want to say a special thank you to the people who make it possible for us to sing that song while we are broadcasting online. Thank you very much for underwriting our broadcasting licence for One Licence. My sisters and brothers, go forth into a world that is beloved by God. Bless it with your compassion, renew it with your hope, and in every step you take, may you feel anew the peace of Christ, the promise of the Spirit, and the eternal presence of God. Amen. I invite you now to turn to those around you, greet them and invite them to come with you to have a cuppa and a time of friendship. Thank you.